Welcome to the Drop the Mic Wrestling Podcast. I am your host, Michael Davis. The Elimination Chamber is over and we're on the fast lane to WrestleMania. Well, no fast lane pay-per-view, but WrestleMania is coming up soon. The path is getting clearer for the grandest stage of them all. But is this the right path? Plus, I'm going to look at the list of Hall of Fame inductees for this year, the ones I believe that should be inducted in none other than Hollywood. And before WrestleMania goes Hollywood, this is the Drop the Mic Wrestling Podcast. And so stay tuned. What's up, everybody? It's your host, Michael Davis, for the Drop the Mic Wrestling Podcast. I hope everyone enjoyed the Elimination Chamber this weekend. If you didn't watch the Elimination Chamber, maybe you watched Mercedes Moné debut in New Japan. Who knows? But there was a lot of stuff to get to in the wrestling world, and I can't do this on my own. And I went and I tried finding one of the best guests I've had. I've actually had him on the radio show Out of Pocket with Michael Davis on Fridays on Tobacco Road Sports Radio. You can go back and watch him, watch myself, watch others debate football, basketball, wrestling topics. We might even talk about the XFL this week. Who knows? But for now, we got to recap everything that happened on the Elimination Chamber. And please welcome in Mr. Matt Cosgrove. Matt, how are you doing, man?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on. It's good to be here. Get to talk some wrestling. I got my advocate with me, so you don't mess around. She'll slide me some brass knuckles or something real quick.
Ooh, you got your advocate in, and brass knuckles showed up this weekend at the Elimination Chamber, did they not?
Yeah, they did, but she's not going to botch it when this happens. So.
Ooh, yikes. There were a couple botches, honestly. And why not start out with that? Because Edge and Beth Phoenix tag teamed for the very first time as a married couple. That's exactly right. And actually beat Judgment Day, Finn Balor, and Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley didn't get the win before Elimination Chamber. I want to get your thoughts if that killed her momentum or not.
Well, I really don't think that you said Rhea Ripley.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really think that more or less killed her momentum, because I think it just kind of breaks her off from that Judgment Day storyline that they're going to keep going with, because she's got to focus like the clear path now with Charlotte Flair, because there's a lot there that they're going to have to build up over a short amount of time. And I think also too, there's a lot of moving factors. But to answer your question, no, I don't think it does. I think it just kind of sets her apart to, build her own little story in a way. I think they actually got it right with the Women's Elimination Chamber.
Yeah, and with the Women's Elimination Chamber, Asuka came away with that victory. You said this is the right choice. Getting ready for Asuka versus Bianca Belair. I mean, I know we'll be able to talk about this weeks ahead, but is there anybody who stood out in the Women's Elimination Chamber match that caught your eye, being like, hey, maybe they should have won? Did they go?
I mean, I thought two things. I thought either they were going to give it to Natalya because it was just like the hometown rub. And with that being said, I thought that because I thought for sure Sami Zayn was going to lose to Roman Reigns, so they were going to have to make the crowd happy one way or another. One of those like for example at WrestleMania 30, if Daniel Bryan was going to win, you had to have a big face lose, and that was Undertaker. So I thought if Sami Zayn was going down, for sure they were going to put it on Natalya just to get that hometown pop, and then you could work her as a heel moving forward. But if it wasn't her, I thought for sure it was Asuka. She's going to be an opponent like Bianca Belair has never really faced before, like an adversary, because she's been on a nice run, Bianca Belair, and this will be like a really big test on a really big stage. Asuka's no slouch, and this Asuka version from Japan is pretty brutal. So I think they did the right thing here. So I thought they got it right. I thought Asuka was the one. If not, Natalya would have been the other one.
I'm so glad they didn't give it to Natalya. I would have been really upset if they just gave it to her for the hometown pop. Now, I think we're kind of differing on what happened in the main event, but we'll get to that in a couple minutes because there was another elimination chamber in this pay-per-view. It was the men's, it was the United States title, Austin Theory, and Austin Theory retained in the chamber. He didn't get F5'd off a pod this time. He's probably thankful that Brock Lesnar is there around.
That
But
poor referee.
Poor
that second F5 wasn't planned.
Oh.
So, I mean, and you could tell that ref like was trying not to eat that bump at all on the ground, and Brock just fed it to him. That shout out to, I don't know who the referee was that Brock Lesnar just took 8 years off their life, but man, that poor guy. But sorry, I had to get that in there because you said F5.
Yeah, it was. Hey, if anybody can do it though, it's Brock Lesnar. Like, let's be honest.
I mean, he threw the world championship at Vince McMahon and kept his job. So yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Brock Lesnar has his own rule book. When he signed the contract, he basically wrote in the rules. And then I'm pretty sure with that contract, he's changed his own rules by the time. But it's Brock Lesnar. He's an attraction. You put him against anybody, and maybe he gets the crowd.
We're gonna find out. We'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll definitely get to that. But one of the matches that it's looking like is after Austin Theory retained in the Elimination Chamber, it's looking like John Cena versus Austin Theory, with Cena returning maybe in a week or two to Monday Night Raw. Austin Theory still the United States champion. It looks like it makes sense for Austin Theory to face his childhood hero.
For sure. I think March 5th in Boston, Massachusetts. I might have the date mixed up, but I know they confirmed it that Cena's coming back on Raw when they go to Boston. So he's coming. I think that's a great match for Austin Theory. It's going to help catapult him to being a bigger, even bigger star than where he's at. I think they're, the progression and the storyline they're doing with Austin Theory is good. And if you've paid attention over like the last year or so, him and Cena have been taking a little like pop shots at each other on social media. So the seeds have been planted for this for a little bit of a little bit. Sorry, I'm putting my advocate down.
You're putting your advocate in the corner?
What's that? Yeah, you gotta put advocate in the corner.
Get off the apron.
Yeah. She slipped me my weapon, so we're good. So I mean, like I was saying though, they've been building this for a little bit here and there. So I think this will be a good match. And, I'm interested to see, though, if they put the belt on the line or not for this. Because I think this could go one of two ways. If they put the title on the line at WrestleMania, I think you for sure put it on Cena.
Really?
Yeah. It would, because if you remember when Theory went to cash in the United States Championship, he lost, and they did this whole storyline of how he was just like hell bent on getting that win back and like getting that title. So imagine you could do that with Cena. You could do this like Austin Theory going scorched earth for 6 months, and then have him fight Cena again at SummerSlam and take the belt off him there. That's my idea, because also you figure too, Cena's gonna be doing press for the new Fast and Furious movie and stuff like that too. So he could bring that belt around with them. I think that if the belt's on the line, you put on Cena, then you could really make Austin Theory just like go mega scorched earth, like I said, to go get the belt back at SummerSlam. If it's not on the line, then maybe Theory goes over at WrestleMania. So I'm really interested to see if they put the title on the line for it. But I think that's a good sign for Austin Theory to get Cena back, because he doesn't come back for just anybody. The last time he fought was against Roman Reigns, right? Mm-hmm. And he did the job for Reigns, so I'm sure he'd do it for Theory too if he has to.
Well, aside from that tag team match at the very end of SmackDown, just to make sure he kept his streak alive.
Yeah, that's right. I did forget it. And they protected Cena well. If you notice, he didn't work much in that match. But I totally forgot about that tag team. I was actually in Tampa when that went on.
Oh, I think I was in Jacksonville for that one.
I think it was in Tampa, because I remember I have family in Tampa, and we were watching TV. It was right before, I think, Christmas, right?
It was right after Christmas, because it was like the last SmackDown
before like the New Year. Yeah, and that was it. And I was like, oh dang, like if I had known this, I would have gone. It was a total sellout, but I'm pretty sure it was in Tampa. But yeah, no. But back to what you were saying, Cena Theory will be good at WrestleMania. I'm interested to see how they build this, and I'm really interested to see if they put the title on the line for this or not. So it'll be good.
And I had not thought about John Cena going over, because to me, before you brought up that scenario and kind of wrote it out, it's obviously like Austin Theory. Cena comes back, has to do the job for the new kid. You don't want your part timer coming in burying this new kid who has momentum and he's growing. But especially with Austin Theory having to come back and beat your childhood hero, I just don't know about the United States title being off Raw for 4 or 5 months until SummerSlam, because honestly, with there only being one world champion right now, the United States title has been elevated to that next level because they've needed it to be.
I agree, and my counterpoint to that is that the World Heavyweight Championship is going to be on Raw. Like I think Cody Rhodes, and we can go more with it, later. I think Cody's going to take the belt off Roman, so that way you're going to have the world champ. You could balance one out with the other, barring like an injury. You could, if you have the Cody Rhodes on the television with the World Heavyweight Championship, people are going to be watching for that, and they're kind of forget a little bit about the U.S. title as long as Austin Theory keeps mentioning it. So I think you can kind of give and take on there. But I agree with what you're saying. Like the United States Championship has been elevated, all in part though because I think Roman's taking a lesser schedule. The belt's not on. The World Heavyweight Championships aren't on Raw as much as they should be. So I think it's like this is going to be where they do like the swap, turn it around kind of moment. But that's just all like I'm just totally guessing on it. So
Okay. Now, Matt, I do want to bring up just a fun question for you, because if this Austin Theory John Cena match does happen, this is Austin Theory facing his childhood hero. Okay, so if you had your advocate in your corner, probably your wife right there, front row, and cheering you on, and you have this WrestleMania match, you can pick one superstar in WWE history to face at WrestleMania. Who are you picking and why?
It can be anybody.
It can be anybody. And to our viewers watching on Facebook and YouTube Live, or if you're watching on Tobacco Ridge Sports Radio as part of the Wrestling Wednesday lineup, did not give Matt this question ahead of time because I wanted to see his reaction. So you might be seeing his reaction on YouTube or Facebook Live right now.
So there's like three names that like immediately came to mind. But if I had to pick one, and this has absolutely nothing to do with like sorry, with the name, is I would pick Razor Ramon. Ooh. Razor like was my favorite growing up. I just thought he was like the cool bad guy. He could work in the ring. I would go Razor. I just thought that'd be a good. That'd be the guy I'd fight WrestleMania. I'd want it for the Intercontinental Championship. Like we could go. I'd even let him beat me, but that would be like the dream match would be me versus Razor. For sure. Close second would be Bret the Hitman Hart.
What's funny is you just said, I'd let Razor beat me. Nah, you don't have a choice in that one, man.
Yeah. Well, yeah, no, yeah. I mean, it would be cool just to be able to do that. I met him once at WrestleCade, and it was like the coolest moment of my life. That was actually the first WrestleCade I ever went to in Winston-Salem.
That was the one where he was there with Hall, Nash.
Walton? No. So this was like I think before. It was the first. I forget the year off the top of my head, but I went strictly for Scott Hall. I bought the tickets like the day of. He was the first person I went to, and I was like shaking when I met. I have a rest in peace Scott Hall shirt on, ironically, like right now, and I went in and. He had the black and white jacket on. He had like the backdrops of like all the Razors. He had the Intercontinental Championship right there. And I walked up and I was just like a little kid. I was like, hey, like I'm such a huge fan of yours. I loved you growing up. He made root for the bad guy cool, and he was like super nice. He was like, hey, thank you. That means a lot. Like this is after, this was right at the beginning of his journey of like beating the drugs and alcohol and stuff like that. So, it was like, it meant a lot to him. It wasn't just, that's what I took from it. And when I was walking away, have you ever seen the movie, you've seen the movie Christmas Story?
Oh yeah.
You know the part where he's like walking away from Santa Claus and all I could get out was like football, and then he like stops, like, wait, I want like a Red Ryder BB gun. It was kind of like that with Scott Hall. I was like, yes, it's nice to meet you. He's like, you want a picture with the belt? And I was like, yes. And I just was like froze up. And as I was walking away, I was like, wait. And I turned around. I was like, hey, Razor, can I get a hey yo? And he like did like the razor, took his toothpick. He's like, hey yo, and then threw it at me and then shot me in the chest. And I just like just like that. My jaw was just like, I cried. I had like tears. I was like, this is one of the coolest moments in my life ever.
Dude.
Like, coolest moment ever. Coolest wrestler interaction I've ever had in my life was that, I would say.
Wow. And
love Scott Hall.
That takes my breath away just thinking of as a fan. And you mentioned WrestleCade. WrestleCade's brought so many great moments for me. You've been there a lot of times. We could literally do an entire podcast just on WrestleCade alone and meeting wrestlers.
And just real quick, like because of that moment with Scott Hall, I have not missed a WrestleCade since. That got me to come back. Awesome. So sorry, I kind of took us off track there with the question, but Razor Ramon definitely would be my WrestleMania opponent. How about you? Who would you go with?
You know what? I always hate when people turn the question on me. Oh my gosh. Dang, that's tough because I could go. My favorite WrestleMania ever was WrestleMania 21. So I'm like a kid in a candy store now that they're going back to Hollywood. They're also doing these like movie vignettes,
right,
trying to promote it. I could literally choose. I could choose The Undertaker with his streak. I could choose Shawn Michaels, Mr. WrestleMania himself.
That the WrestleMania? Was that the first WrestleMania of Taker HBK?
No, WrestleMania 21 was Taker Orton.
Oh,
yeah. Angle Michaels.
Yep.
But keeping with the theme, who wrestlers went away too soon, Eddie Guerrero.
Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah.
He's closer to my size. He knows how to draw anything from the fans, whether he wants them to hate him or love him. Eddie Guerrero would be the dream match at WrestleMania. And I would have him go over,
Right. Well, yeah. Again, like you said, like
he's got cheat.
Probably wouldn't have a choice.
He's got to cheat too. But Matt, we gotta get.
Here's a better question. I have a question for you, and it's probably a redundant question. In those WrestleMania moments, would you come out first or second to the ring?
Ooh. I would love to come out first just to watch the entrance, especially if it's Eddie, the limousine.
You get to watch the lowrider come out. Yeah.
Yeah. You
got
same
with Razor, just get the chills. It was like, oh, like yeah, same.
Yeah, especially if they have the belt too. Yeah.
I'd be like hitting the goosebumps off my arms. It'd be sweet.
Too sweet, if you will. But we gotta get into a break. Can we keep you after the break to talk about this Sami Zayn and Roman Reigns match?
Yeah, for sure.
All right, you heard it here. Matt's going to stay in after the break. When we come back after a very short break on Facebook and YouTube, we're going to talk about this Montreal. Wasn't a screw job, but did WWE get it right next when we come back on the Drop the Mic Wrestling Podcast. Welcome back to the Drop the Mic Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Davis. We got Matt Cosgrove agreeing to be a part of the second segment as well. And and you got a treat in that first half because we were talking just off the cuff. Dream opponent at WrestleMania facing anybody. We're losers, but it's okay to be a loser, especially if you're having the dream of a lifetime. And that's exactly what Sami Zayn had in Montreal this weekend, wrestling Roman Reigns, who is over 900 days as Universal Champion. He's the undisputed WWE Universal Champion now. And he came up in a losing effort to Roman Reigns in his hometown, Montreal. And Matt, you and I have had text conversations back and forth about whether this was the right move or not. And to me personally, when I think about looking back at Eddie Guerrero and how the fans captured him in 2004, 10 years later, Daniel Bryan in 2014, you look at these moments and you're like, is it? I know it wasn't part of the plan to have Sami Zayn, one, in the bloodline for 9 months, but two, I know it wasn't part of the plan to have Sami Zayn a part of the WrestleMania world title picture. It looks like they should have at least considered, and there's reports that higher ups even pushed for Sami to win this weekend. I don't know if you have Sami win in his hometown, but I'm almost thinking that Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens winning the titles against the Usos at WrestleMania won't do it. It'll feel like a consolation prize. Should Sami Zayn have won this weekend, or should Sami Zayn be inserted into the title picture at WrestleMania?
Well, let me step back to what you said when you came back from break. How like when we were booking our WrestleManias, we were both losers, right? You can win. You could be a winner even in losing in pro wrestling. So you don't have to win the match. You don't have to get the 1, 2, 3 to really win the match. And I think that was shown on Sunday night in Elimination Chamber with Sami Zayn. Yes, he was at home. Yes, it would have been, a huge pop. It would have been like a big, moment. But his momentum's even bigger now, even in a loss, in my opinion. So Roman Reigns gets built as this mega heel, even more unstoppable for the 900 days. I don't think Sami Zayn should have won on Elimination Chamber for 2 reasons. One is obviously the big payoff is going to be Cody versus Roman, right? And it would totally take all the traction and all the steam away to have Roman lose back-to-back pay-per-views after not losing one wrestling match in 900 days. It's just I think that takes away all the time and 3 years of story building that they've done on Roman Reigns to have him lose back-to-back, presumably clean like that, after the people that he has, John Cena, Sony has beat, The Undertaker, Brock Lesnar a couple times. So, I mean, whoever gets that loss on Roman Reigns, it's going to be huge, and it's going to be, and it's not to take, yes, it was a grand stage that he's on in front of his hometown, but WrestleMania is the biggest stage of them all. And if you're going to serve up that loss and that really give some meaning and value to it, that's your WrestleMania moment right there. I think for sure Roman Reigns is losing at WrestleMania. So that is why I don't think Sami Zayn should have won this past weekend at one of the reasons. Number 2, Roman's already beat Sami before on that run. And I think, yeah, Sami's over, but it's him losing and someone said, I think in a conversation we had, that like the storyline's not done. Like it's just getting started on other ends. It's a new chapter. And it makes sense. So now you differentiate, right? So the main goal is to break up the bloodline, right? That's what it seems like. So you couldn't chop the head off. So why don't you take out the legs? And that's where it comes next. Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, they did a tremendous promo on Monday night where Kevin was like, go ask your friend Jay. So that kind of builds like there's that heat where Sami Zayn is now stuck in a rock and a hard place. Am I loyal to Jey Uso, or am I loyal to my best friend who I've got to this moment with over X amount of years? And so that itself is going to be an even better storyline. It's going to grow even more to see like the trials and tribulations of how Sami Zayn comes back from this huge loss to a big win gaining back his friend, gaining these titles. So I think we're just getting started on a whole new chapter with Sami Zayn. So really, with losing on Sunday night or Saturday night, he won. He's got a lot left. There's going to be a lot more. I think it's the right call to have him and Kevin Owens against the Usos at WrestleMania because of that alone. Just like the hard decisions. There's going to be moments where the crowd is going to be chanting for Sami Zayn to do something, and he doesn't do it, and he lets them down. And then the next week he does something, and the crowd is so behind him that it's gonna not matter what belt he's fighting for because the crowd is going to be so behind them. So I have other thoughts on what could happen. I think that we're on a collision course for 6-man war games of Cody Rhodes, Sami Zayn, and Kevin Owens versus the Bloodline. Who that fourth person would be, I don't know. But I think that's for sure going to happen. So, I mean, there's a lot here. There's a lot to go on. Like, there's a lot that's going to go down. So, no, I don't think Sami should have won on Saturday because he didn't need to. Because there's so much stuff left that they can do. And I think they're doing the right thing with having him and Kevin Owens team up to systematically take – because they couldn't do it alone. They couldn't take the Bloodline on alone. So when you can't, but they both have the same vendetta and they're best friends. So why not work together to do it? And we're in for a ride. So I think they did it right. I think we're in for a lot more fun. And yeah, so we're in a brand new chapter for the Sami Zayn saga. Like he's still going to be as popular as ever. I don't think he should be in the World Championship match. I think that should be just Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns. Because I know that a lot of people start bringing up the WrestleMania 30 with Daniel Bryan. I think that was different circumstances too. Dave Bautista came back from being in Hollywood and won the Royal Rumble. That's why people were mad, So it's not like they just had some random person just show up. I think people would have been mad if The Rock came back or got it over
really?
Sami Zayn.
That's
what I'm saying though. It's because like The Rock's good, but then it's like, okay, so The Rock comes back and say he won the Royal Rumble over a person that should have won it, like Cody or maybe even Sami Zayn, right? What do you have two options with The Rock against Roman Reigns? Either he lays down and then Roman holds onto the belts for another 7 months, or The Rock takes the belts and leaves. And then you got to do a one-off again and comes back. So that's what the problem was with Batista. People knew that. They're like, this is BS that he's coming back to do this. He doesn't deserve to be in that main event. So I get the argument, but that was a really long-winded answer. But I've been thinking about this even before like our text messages. There's a lot that's left.
To be fair, to play devil's advocate, because and from our text messages, I have been a huge advocate for getting The Rock versus Roman Reigns. And the story started with Roman Reigns not having the respect of his family, even though he's the provider now. He's the one at WWE events. He's the one doing all the media releases. He's doing all this stuff. He has no respect. And all he hears about is he's cousins to The Rock. Here's his dad. Here's his uncle. Here's his cousin. And for 2.5 years now, Roman Reigns has been the guy. He has been building himself as the head of the table. He's been building himself since day one as the tribal chief. And who do you think of when you think of that Samoan dynasty? When you think of the bloodline, you think The Rock. And The Rock is the pinnacle of that family tree. And it's in Hollywood, LA. The Rock's a big Hollywood star. We got Hollywood Rock for a few years in the Ruthless Aggression area. Some of his best stuff, doing the whole Rock concerts. I've been trying to go back and watch some of those on YouTube. But
Sacramento one's great.
Oh, the Sacramento. When the Lakers beat the Kings in May. And I can't do it. I can't do it justice because it was so good. He's about to leave Sacramento. But The Rock is the pinnacle when you think of that family. Roman Reigns isn't. And for him, I think the final stage of that to prove it is, I go and beat The Rock, which would have been perfect because you have Roman Reigns defeat The Rock at WrestleMania in Hollywood. There's nothing left for him to do. He's at the top, and so he's just going to ride it out. And you get him past the 1,000-day mark. He's 4 digits in to his world title reign. And then at SummerSlam, bring back the prestigious SummerSlam to have somebody like Cody Rhodes fight and scratch and claw to get that world title match against Roman and dethrone him there.
Why can't Roman Reigns fight The Rock at SummerSlam?
It's not as big of a stage. I mean, it can happen.
Right. I agree with everything you said about it, like being in Hollywood. It's the perfect stage for it. I agree with you. The Rock said he wasn't in shape and couldn't do it.
Whatever that means, unfortunately.
Right. I thought it was a work, but you'd think he's got a movie. He's doing movies. He's doing a lot of promo and stuff. So, I mean, he might not be in ring shape right now. And hey, I'm with you. I thought
Triple H is with us too. If you saw that press conference,
Triple H, yeah. I mean, I didn't see the press conference, but I agree with everything you said. Like, this is the best stage for it, but he's not going to be there. So they got to do the belt. They got to do the Cody route now, which I get. So what if you take the belt off Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, right? Roman's pissed, and then that's when you bring The Rock in. And that's when The Rock's like, oh, you thought you were the head of the table. Like, I don't lose at WrestleMania. Like, I don't lose at these big events. And then you could build a 6-month storyline and build up Roman Reigns versus The Rock at SummerSlam. Or you could build it for a year like they did with Rock Cena.
You could build it for a year.
Because Roman wants to take time off. So, I mean, you could...
Is WrestleMania in Philly next year?
Yes.
I want to say Philadelphia.
And that's where they booed Rock out of the building when he helped Roman Reigns win the Royal Rumble.
There might be a story there. There might be a story there.
Philadelphia's big wrestling town. I think it works better if you don't have the belts involved with The Rock and Roman, because you almost would hope for the Roman Reigns to win, and then when he does, it's like, okay, well then if The Rock can't beat Roman Reigns, who can we put up that's believable or like that could do this? But then if The Rock does win, it's like, he can't. He's going to disappear with the belts for 9 months.
I think Matt's advocate wants The Rock versus Roman Reigns at Hollywood, but we might have to wait till Philadelphia. And speaking of waiting, I really have to cover this Bobby Lashley Brock Lesnar stuff before you start going, because
real quick, I just want to say something. I when it comes to WrestleMania coming up this year,
mm-hmm.
I think Seth Rollins versus Logan Paul is going to be surprisingly better than people think.
I think it'll be good. I don't want to see Logan Paul, period. But he's such a heel.
For the celebrity athletes, the celebrity wrestlers that they've had come in, he's one of the best ones that's ever done it. I will give him that. So him and Rollins together, they'll do some fun stuff. Cody versus Roman. I need Cody and Roman face to face in the ring soon. I can't do 6 weeks of him and Paul Heyman. Like, if you want to sell this thing, we need to get Roman and Cody face to face.
Which is what I think they were leading to on Raw. Cody was like, I need to see you.
Right. I love Paul Heyman, but there's only so many weeks of that we can get. So, we'll see. I think WrestleMania is 2 nights, right?
It's 2 nights.
What's going to main event
Fools
the
and
first
April
night?
2nd.
Huh?
April Fools and April 2nd.
What would main event the first night? Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens versus the Usos?
I don't know if you main event with that one.
I mean, the crowd, that's the people's main event. Because Cody and Roman will be night 2, right? Like, that's a guarantee.
It has to be. Roman versus Cody, night 2. Night 1, they tend to put one of the women in that night one main event,
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
except for when the Undertaker faced AJ Styles and who was the other one last year, Stone Cold and Kevin Owens.
Yeah. So which women's match would you have main event? Bianca and Asuka?
I would say Charlotte and Rhea, especially with the redemption that Rhea needs. Charlotte's a big enough star. I feel like Charlotte's a bigger star than Bianca.
True.
But you would definitely send the crowd home not happy.
Right. Another quick question before we get towards the end. Sorry. Do we get the Demon Finn Balor against Edge at WrestleMania?
I don't think we get Demon anymore. And my opinion's changed the last couple weeks. Thinking about, I mean, fans love the Demon.
Right.
How could you bring back the Demon character with Finn Balor and still get heat that the Judgment Day needs?
What if you did like a gimmick match, like Hell in the Cell?
I think it's going to be Hell in a Cell.
So demons come from hell.
Judgment Day's so good right now. I don't know if we.
It would be like a one-off. It could be like a one-off thing. He could cut a promo and be like, and Edge could do like his crazy Edge thing, and Finn Balor could just be like, like, you want to bring the demons out on me? Like, I'm going to bring a demon at WrestleMania.
It could work. Maybe.
I think that'd make a good pop. Also, I popped when they did the FTR finish.
Oh my gosh. How did we not talk about that?
Yeah.
Because, and I was watching it with a few guys, and I was like, that moment was so cool. Knowing that Cash Wheeler helped Edge get back into ring shape to debut at Royal Rumble 2020. Like, for them to give that homage to FTR in that moment, nobody mentioned it. They did say Shatter Machine, which it's actually the big rig now. Thanks, guys. Like, that was my favorite moment of the night.
Yeah, even I marked out for that. Pop. Well, they train in Asheville together.
Dude, my dream is to like run into one of them in Asheville, North Carolina.
That'd be so awesome. Like when they did that, I was like, all right, cool. Like, and they called it the Dax actually went on WWE or on Twitter and was like and like wrote like Shatter Machine and put like an emoji next to it. I don't know. I think they're gonna go back to WWE soon. I'm trying to figure that out if they're gonna stay or go. But that's a whole nother thing. But it was cool that they did that.
That is cool. They did that. That's a whole other thing. It'd be cool if they came back. I don't want them to sign with WWE, but I want them to do something with Edge before he retires. I
want them to get him out of this Judgment Day thing before he goes. So it was cool to see him face Austin Theory. They did a good match. But I mean, yeah. So we'll get to Brock, and then after you get to Brock, I want to bring up one more thing before we go.
Yeah. Yeah. Real quick, we gotta go into another break, and when we come back, we'll get Matt's thoughts on Lashley versus Lesnar, and we'll get that question that Matt's bringing up all of a sudden right next on the Drop the Mic Wrestling podcast. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Drop the Mic Wrestling podcast. I'm your host, Michael Davis, and I decided, let's keep the face on for the tiny little break on Facebook Live and YouTube. Thank you for watching, seeing a few people pop in. If you want a question of yours asked or you have a comment on anything Matt and I have talked about, we got about 10 more minutes before we head out for the evening, and Matt's posted a lot of comments on these podcasts before, and he's had his comment pop up on the Facebook and YouTube live streams, and that could be you. And now Matt's on the show talking live and in living color in a Scott Hall tribute shirt with his advocate at ringside. And Matt, I'm so glad to have you on. We're going to talk Lesnar and Lashley, but I also want to say, man, like, I'm so proud of you. Like I was visiting App State last weekend, our alma mater. Went and visited Eddie Simmons, talked to him for a little bit, and it just brought up a lot of good memories of the intramurals, the stuff we would do together, and seeing you now, like your husband, your dad, like you're doing all the stuff, man, and it's great to see. It's really encouraging.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. It's crazy to think we went from like flag football to this, and I'm really happy with everything you're doing too, man. You got your show on Tobacco Road Radio. You got Drop the Mic podcast. You're doing good too, man. So it's always good to see us Mountaineers be successful. Also, shout out Chase Bryce.
Shout out Chase Bryce, who got drafted by the USFL,
third overall pick. So, but yeah, man, it's crazy to see like where time flies, man, and like you never know where you're gonna be like a year from now. So enjoy it. Yeah, life couldn't be any better, So I bring her to all the wrestling events, and she's my little Mark.
Thunder Rosa.
Yeah, Thunder Rosa. So again, at WrestleCade, we waited in line, and the first thing Thunder Rosa said, like before we could even be like, "Hey, how are you?" She's like, "Can I hold your baby?" We're like, "Yes," and she like held her, and we're big Thunder Rosa fans in this house. Sorry, I'm feeding my advocate. Well, talk to you. She got a little milk goatee going on, but she'll be all right. But
just like Stone Cold, or
Kurt
honestly,
Angle.
Kurt Angle.
Kurt Angle, yeah. But yeah, no, it's I appreciate that, man, and I try. They're my whole world, and they support me, and I support them, and they make life awesome. So, but you're doing good too, man. I'm really proud of you as well. So, keep it up and keep having me on. I like coming on and getting to talk wrestling. So, keep it up, dude. You're doing good stuff.
Dude, it's the best. Anytime. I love having you on. And with that said, roll nears, okay, baby. But we haven't touched on Brock Lesnar and Bobby Lashley, and we have about 7-8 minutes left of the show, and this was only a 5-minute match. It's like your typical Lesnar match. Big spot, big spot, big spot, big spot. But you low blow him. Lesnar intentionally gets himself disqualified to Bobby Lashley. A week ago on SmackDown, Bray Wyatt challenged the winner, Bobby Lashley versus Brock Lesnar. And Brock Lesnar goes off script. We talked about it, hitting F5s on the ref, on the Lashley through the table, everything. And now it just feels like this story is unfinished. It's incomplete. It's not satisfying at all. And thinking, okay, they had this match at Elimination Chamber. It's a dirty win. Okay, let's have the main rubber match at WrestleMania. And now it looks like they're splitting them up. They're having maybe Bobby Lashley versus Bray Wyatt, which I'm wearing a Bray Wyatt shirt. I'm not a fan of that. Matt, you and I can talk a whole nother hour about the plans for Bray Wyatt. And it feels like they're doing Brock Lesnar versus Omos. Like, this seems to be the wrong direction for an obvious, hey, Bobby Lashley, Brock Lesnar, give them 10 minutes at WrestleMania and send the fans home happy. It's so unsatisfactory, man. What's your thoughts?
I remember texting you Saturday night after that match, and I was like, that was awful. That whole thing was just like, it was trash. It was like, how many Brock Lesnar matches are we going to get? And how many things are they going to try to switch it up? Like that finish, I thought two things. Either like they did before knowing that the referee spot wasn't called for, I thought to myself, okay, well, maybe they suspend Brock Lesnar, right? And that way, maybe he didn't want to get pinned by Lashley, so you give him that win that way. You suspend him, and then you do Lashley, Bray Wyatt, and then like we can go about our lives. But now, Omos versus Brock Lesnar, and I'm sitting here, I'm like, the only reason that will make sense is if this is a Hurt Locker reunion. That's the only way. But even then, you are jumping the gun like crazy on it. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So maybe Brock Lesnar shows up next week and just beats the crap out of Omos, and Lashley comes out and saves them and says, you know what, like, let's do this again, and they set up a triple threat. I don't know. This is terrible booking.
And Bray Wyatt's thrown in there for literally no reason.
I think they're throwing Bray Wyatt into it because they don't have anything else for him. They don't know what else to book him for. Even when he came out and cut the promo on SmackDown saying that he wanted the winner of Brock Lesnar, Bobby Lashley, like, where'd that come from?
Yeah, it almost feels like WWE has done great storytelling the last few months with Triple H in charge. It feels like Vince McMahon just took the script in the last week and didn't have his hands on the Elimination Chamber, but had his hands on a couple promos, and it's like, well, let's throw this person there and let's throw this person here because we haven't seen it before. It makes no sense.
It doesn't make any sense at all, and you can't when you sit and try to think about it, my advocate doesn't think it makes sense either. Like when you
We're all upset. We're all upset.
And like normally when you think of these things, you could sit here and be like, okay, well, you can kind of pick pieces and put it together to make it make sense. Brock Lesnar versus Omos makes absolutely zero sense. There's nothing to it besides maybe the Hurt Locker, and that's the only rational thing I could come up with for that. The only one, and even then, so then you got to connect Bobby Lashley and Bray Wyatt somehow now.
And they're on different brands, and they haven't really had a pass, so it won't even fit into like Bray Wyatt. It's so whack.
It doesn't make. And let's be honest. How long would Brock Lesnar Omos go at WrestleMania? 4 minutes.
Lesnar Omos doesn't need to last more than 4 minutes,
right? So what's like?
Lashley Wyatt probably doesn't last more than
10.
10.
And it would probably be a gimmick match.
Which they could make a lot of money on that sponsorship.
That's what it's going to be. If that would be a gimmick. But it's like, that's what I'm saying. It's like, none of it makes sense. But you touched on something, and that like kind of like is the question I was going to ask you. So you were talking about the vignettes and like the movie stuff that they're doing for WrestleMania.
Love it, man. So it's so nostalgic.
So if you look at the bottom, I think I sent you the screenshot. At the bottom of one of them for WrestleMania, it says directed by Vince McMahon. So
I saw that.
So, I mean, that's obviously not a mistake, and they wouldn't put that there like just because, especially the way social media works, and so he's helping book this stuff, right? I guess my question is Vince McMahon back booking these things, but not like on the record booking these things?
It feels like it with those couple matches being put in, but at the same time, it feels like you can't mess this up, man. You can't mess this up. Like Triple H has done so well. Everything's made sense.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
When I saw that directed by part, I was like, oh no.
I hope that's just like a nod. I hope that's also like, I don't know if that was official, if that was a fan. It looked pretty official.
It looked really official. That was on television. That was like a screen grab from when they ran the posters on Raw.
Oh, I was afraid you'd say that.
So,
but hopefully we can get out of this pretty easy. We'll have the next 5-6 weeks to talk about WrestleMania and the build up for that. We'll squeeze AEW Revolution in here. That
would be a great card.
The one that's not really a card right now.
No, they have like 4 matches announced for it so far,
and it's like not this weekend, but the weekend after. I don't know.
So they'll definitely. So what? They have the tag team match.
They have the 4-way tag. They have MJF Danielson. They have Mox Hangman. They have Joe and Wardlow. So it's not like a bad card.
That's 4 right there. You'll get Saraya and Tony Storm versus Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter. Let's see. You'll get probably Jericho, Daniel Garcia again.
Okay.
You'll get Darby Allin will probably fight on there with Sting.
You gotta get Sting on the card.
Yeah, so they'll be all right.
We'll see. We'll see how this next week shakes up.
What do you think? What do you think? Tony Khan's big announcement is on Wednesday.
I heard AEW Collision might be another show to get people more time. I think they should just extend Rampage, but who knows at this point? It might be just some random signing at this point.
I think it's going to be him announcing Ring of Honor is coming, like weekly television.
I could see that.
Because they're going to start filming this weekend in Orlando. So, we'll see.
Taking over NXT territory. Bring back the Wednesday Night Wars.
Yeah, well, remember NXT, they moved the Wednesday nights because they were getting smoked at first. So,
hey, it's happening. But Matt, we gotta get out of here. This has been a great Facebook live stream. We've been on YouTube. Matt's putting comments all the time. He's been on Out of Pocket with Michael Davis. We had to get him on the podcast because, as you can see, we can talk for hours about this stuff. We're passionate about it. Great guy. Go follow him on Instagram, as you can see on Facebook and YouTube. Razor's Edge Collectibles with a K. Just FYI. Good nod to Razor Ramon, his dream opponent at WrestleMania, which he will take the bow to.
Always.
in due honor. But Matt, it's been great having you. Any last words for the crowd?
No, just make sure you tune in. It's thanks for having me on. It's gonna be interesting what's coming up. Wrestling's really interesting right now. So we didn't even talk about New Japan. Like there's a lot of cool stuff going on there too. But hey, it's just enjoy it. I hate everyone having to feel like they have to pick sides. Just watch it and enjoy it. That's all.
Just watch and enjoy it. Matt, it's been great having you. And this has been the Drop the Mic Wrestling Podcast. If you missed any of it, well, we're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. You can follow us on Drop the Mic Wrestling. I'll be back on Out of Pocket with Michael Davis Friday afternoon, 4 o'clock, Tobacco Road Sports Radio, tobaccaroadsportsradio.com. WWBG 1470 AM is part of the TGI Friday lineup. But until then, it's been another Mic Drop Wednesday, and we will see you next week. Everyone, stay tuned.